A sense of urgency gripped the air as Lisa reached out to the authorities, desperate for help. A young woman shared her home, yet nobody could locate her. Gabrielle Clevenger had vanished without a trace, and concern mounted with each passing moment. She had not shown up for work. Lisa's voice trembled with worry as she provided Gabrielle's name. Gabrielle, affectionately known as Gabe, was known for her dedication, always arriving early, never missing a day. So when she failed to appear, unease settled among her colleagues. It was a collective feeling, a gnawing sensation held by all who knew her, as if a shadow had fallen over their hearts. The absence of 22-year-old Gabrielle Clevenger sent ripples of dread through her friends and community. Lisa's 911 call would soon reveal unsettling truths about Gabrielle's life. Lisa's voice broke as she disclosed alarming details regarding Gabrielle's husband, Alec Blair. His violent tendencies cast a dark cloud over their relationship, igniting fears for Gabrielle's safety. A series of police reports, filed by Gabrielle herself, painted a troubling picture of her life after the 911 call. Lisa, alongside her husband, had traveled to Richland County, South Carolina, to provide vital information to the police, as Gabrielle had been missing since February 10, 2020. The officers expressed gratitude for Lisa's call. Yet the urgency heightened when Lisa revealed a chilling update. Her son had informed her that Alec had shown up at a location, and Gabe had left with him. What had begun as concern swiftly morphed into terror as Lisa relayed disturbing details about blood. Her friend had suffered an injury, a bloody nose. The situation was escalating into a nightmare. These revelations marked only the beginning of a harrowing journey filled with spine-chilling truths that detectives never anticipated. The events leading to Gabrielle's disappearance were more disturbing than they first seemed. Shocking discoveries awaited the detectives as they delved deeper. The investigation demanded understanding Gabrielle's lifestyle and her tumultuous relationship with her husband, 21-year-old Alec Blair. Each layer revealed complexities that painted a grim portrait of their life together. Gabrielle and Alec's paths first crossed at Walmart in 2016. Their whirlwind romance culminated in marriage in late 2019. However, Lisa's distressing 911 call unveiled the cracks in their seemingly perfect union. Just 5 months into their marriage, Gabrielle made the heart-wrenching decision to leave. Lisa possessed critical insights into their relationship, details that could prove pivotal for the investigation. Gabrielle had faced threats to her life, leaving her in constant fear. Lisa spoke of the harassment Gabrielle endured, describing how she had to change her phone number to escape Alec's relentless messages. He had destroyed her belongings and even caused her pets to go missing. The fear she felt was palpable. Every word Lisa shared about the couple's turbulent relationship sent shivers down the detectives' spines. Gabrielle's life had become a haunting nightmare, marked by the shadows of her husband's aggression, especially now that she was missing. The detectives, spurred by Lisa's revelations, attempted to reach out to Alec, but he offered no answers. However, in a startling twist, their efforts bore fruit when they received an unexpected call from Alec himself. On the line was Alec, addressing the Shelby Police Department. He inquired about a missed call, his demeanor calm, yet unsettling. The conversation quickly turned to Gabrielle Clevenger. When asked if he was with her, he claimed to be at work, denying any knowledge of her whereabouts. The detectives pressed him further, questioning if he had seen her that day. Alec's response was chillingly consistent. He had not. The investigation was just beginning, and the search for Gabrielle Clevenger was far from over. Earlier that day, Lisa spoke to Gabrielle Clevenger about their impending divorce. Gabrielle had been hesitant to proceed, leaving Lisa with a sense of unease. When asked about Gabrielle's whereabouts now, Lisa could only shake her head in confusion, expressing her ignorance about where Gabrielle might have gone. Alec Blair, Gabrielle's husband, confirmed that she was not with him. With each passing minute, the likelihood of locating Gabrielle grew dimmer. Then, a break in the case emerged as detectives uncovered something suspicious. The Shelby Police Department was resolute in their mission to track down Alec Blair. They made their way to his workplace, recognizing him as the key to unraveling Gabrielle's mysterious disappearance. It was evident that Alec held crucial information regarding his wife's whereabouts. When confronted, Alec acknowledged that his wife was reported missing. Detectives pressed him for information, asking if he had any idea where she could be. With a feigned nonchalance, he replied, "Honestly, I don't really know." The detectives requested to search his vehicle, which he reluctantly consented to. Alec's demeanor shifted slightly as they began their investigation, revealing a tension beneath his casual facade. As they continued to question him, Alec invited them to sit in the back of his car. The freshly bleached interior hinted at something sinister lurking beneath the surface, a secret that begged to be uncovered. The detectives' instincts were heightened as they noticed the bloodstains. Alec's terrified expression suggested he was hiding something deeply disturbing about Gabrielle's disappearance. When pressed about the blood, he claimed it was from a friend who had a bloody nose, trying to deflect suspicion. But the presence of blood in the car, scattered throughout the seat crevices, was the final nail in the coffin for Alec. The detectives were convinced it was time to take him into custody, as the evidence mounted against him. In a bid to establish a timeline, the detectives inquired about where Alec and Gabrielle were living. He explained they resided in a trailer park located just outside Greenwich, but emphasized it was merely a 5-minute drive from the Crestview schools. Alec described their living situation, noting they had started in one trailer before moving to a larger one to accommodate their needs. When asked how long they had stayed there, he stated he moved out at the beginning of January. The transition seemed to have a significant impact on Gabrielle. Alec confessed that his anger issues, stemming from a troubled childhood and his parents' divorce, played a role in Gabrielle's decision to leave him and pursue a divorce. His calm demeanor, however, felt eerily disconnected from the gravity of the situation unfolding. He continued to share that after moving out, he had been staying with his mother on Taylortown Road, while Gabrielle remained in the trailer for a time. The detectives pressed him further, asking where Gabrielle was living now. Alec revealed that she had been trying to find an apartment in Shelby, indicating she was staying with a friend initially, but that relationship had evolved into something more. As Alec divulged these details, the detectives couldn't shake the feeling that his account was riddled with inconsistencies. The web of lies began to unravel, leaving a chilling atmosphere hanging in the air, thick with the weight of uncertainty surrounding Gabrielle's fate. The detectives knew they were on the brink of something significant. The truth about Gabrielle's disappearance was buried somewhere within Alec's guarded demeanor and the unsettling evidence that surrounded him. A crucial question lingered in the air. Whose friend was it? The answer came swiftly. It was her friend. The inquiry deepened, probing how this revelation came to light. In a moment of forthrightness, she disclosed the details. It was she who had shared this information, initially hesitant but eventually opening up. The investigator pressed for clarity, eager to uncover the truth. The friend initially mentioned casual conversations, but the investigator urged her to be honest and reveal everything she knew. Ultimately, the conversation was brief, merely stating they were talking. Their connection had begun the previous year, as he was the brother of her boss. In this intricate web, Alec Blair was referencing Lisa when discussing Gabrielle's friend. Following Alec's departure from their shared home, Gabrielle faced relentless harassment and threats from him. The situation grew dire, prompting her to seek refuge. Lisa, with her compassionate nature, offered her a safe haven, fostering a close bond between Gabrielle and Lisa's son, CJ. Yet, for Alec, tranquility was elusive. Behind his seemingly calm exterior, he concealed a far more sinister reality, one that detectives had yet to fully comprehend. His account of events was a stark contrast to the truth. An unexpected voice broke the tension, inquiring if someone had called for assistance that night. Affirmative, it was indeed her. A decision lay ahead. Would she step outside or would he enter? As she carefully ushered her dog inside to prevent any potential escape, the conversation shifted. She revealed the turmoil of marital discord, noting that she and her husband were in the midst of divorce proceedings. The situation had escalated. He had dropped her off but lingered ominously. His anger erupted, shattering her belongings, her lamp smashed, her table broken. Tension hung palpably in the air as they remained legally married. When questioned if she would recognize him if he appeared at the police department, she mused that she could likely identify him, having seen his Facebook profile. The investigator pressed further, digging into the dynamics of their relationship. She revealed that while she was technically still married, she considered herself single. There was an understanding, albeit complex. They were separated, but the emotional weight lingered heavily, particularly for her. She opened up about her struggles with depression, mourning the loss of her first love. The heartache was palpable as she struggled to adapt to the new reality of their separation, compounded by her father's attempts to introduce her to new prospects. The timeline was recent, she recalled, pointing to events that had unfolded just last month, extending into the early days of the current month. The investigator sought specifics, probing for the approximate date Gabrielle had relocated. After a moment's thought, she estimated it to be around late January. The circumstances surrounding her move were troubling. On one occasion, while she was absent, someone had broken into the trailer she had previously inhabited. The intruder hadn't stolen anything, but had left a path of destruction. There were even rumors of a desire to defile the place, leading to police involvement, where officers advised her against staying there any longer. The friend recounted her thoughts on Gabrielle Clevenger's whereabouts, speculating that she might have stayed with her sister or another friend. It was a troubling situation. The friend revealed that she had learned about a break-in at Gabrielle's trailer, not from Gabrielle herself, but from their landlord, who had called to inform her that the door was ajar. Trying to help, she advised the landlord to contact Gabrielle's workplace. Concerned, she reached out to Gabrielle via message, seeking clarity. In that exchange, Gabrielle provided the details of the situation, leaving her friend apprehensive about the events unfolding. Meanwhile, inside the interrogation room, Alec Blair remained oblivious to the detective's keen awareness of his transgressions. While he attempted to maintain a calm facade, they were already well informed of his troubling behavior, including stalking and threatening Gabrielle's new boyfriend. In a desperate bid to intimidate, Alec had sent explicit images of Gabrielle to the couple, revealing the lengths he would go to harass them. The detectives were also privy to the fact that the supposed burglary at Gabrielle's trailer was orchestrated by Alec himself, intended as a means to instill fear. The tension mounted as they pressed him. "So, when's the last time you saw her?" In a moment of hesitation, Alec responded, "This morning, actually." The detectives pressed for details, curious about the nature of their encounter. "How did you see her this morning? Why did you see her?" he was asked. "I was messaging her on Facebook," he admitted, trying to keep his story straight. Alec continued, revealing his intent to visit the courthouse together to discuss their divorce. "I was going to call her about all that stuff," he explained. He described how Gabrielle was initially reluctant, but he made an effort to persuade her, eager to wrap up their tumultuous relationship. "I just wanted to get it all done and over with," he recounted. Yet, when they finally met, the exchange took a turn. "We went to the car and I started driving for a little bit," he said, recounting the tensions that surfaced. Gabrielle, clearly agitated, initiated an argument. Alec, weary and uninterested in conflict, stated, "I'm not really in the mood to argue right now. I just want to go get this done and go to work." The escalating disagreement led Gabrielle to demand to exit the vehicle. "So I was like, okay," he relayed, watching her as she stepped out. Alec noted that it wasn't far from her home or her boyfriend's place. After she exited, he decided to return home. The detectives had provided Alec numerous chances to offer his side of the story and to be forthcoming, but he opted to weave a web of deception at nearly every turn. Now, it was time for the detectives to change their approach. "I mean, you seem like a good guy, yeah? Cooperative with us here, so," one detective began, attempting to build rapport. "We want to shoot you straight and put all our cards on the table because obviously we want to find her, right?" With a serious tone, the detective simplified the situation. "One of our officers from the sheriff's office, I wasn't there when this happened. I'm just going by the information that was given to me," he continued, revealing, "They apparently got a look inside your car at some point in time." The detective disclosed that an officer had observed what appeared to be blood in Alec's vehicle and signs of an attempted cleanup. "Okay, yeah," Alec replied, seemingly unfazed. The detective pressed on, recounting a claim made by Alec. "Somebody said something to you about this, and you said a friend of yours had been in the car and had a bad bloody nose, and that's where it came from. Is all that accurate?" "Okay, here's the deal. You need to be honest with us about this, all right?" the detective urged, sensing the gravity of the situation. "Yeah, because we can DNA test that blood, right? We can verify that it's hers and not this friend's, right?" In a tense interrogation room, the lead investigator pressed for clarity, revealing that someone had mentioned a friend had been in a car with Gabrielle Clevenger, suffering from a bad bloody nose. The investigator needed to know if that was the source of the blood. The atmosphere thickened as the question hung in the air, demanding an honest response. With a steely resolve, the investigator laid down the facts. Honesty was not just preferred, it was crucial. The blood, they warned, could be tested for DNA, confirming whose it was. They needed to know if it belonged to Gabrielle or this mysterious friend. The investigator continued, hinting at the unknown identity of this friend, mentioning that they could easily verify all details. All phone records would be subpoenaed, revealing any communication Alec Blair had with CJ, Gabrielle's boyfriend. The tension escalated as they acknowledged the ongoing divorce, a turbulent backdrop that often birthed ugly truths. The investigator's tone softened slightly, recognizing the emotional turmoil of a divorce. Yet, they pressed on, emphasizing that the truth was paramount. Lies would only complicate the situation further, and they were there to sift through the chaos of grievances and accusations. They emphasized that deception would be easily exposed by the evidence at their disposal. They could analyze DNA, subpoena phone records, and corroborate every statement made. The stakes were high, and the detectives were prepared to reveal the truth behind the facade. The detectives revealed a pivotal piece of information. Gabrielle Clevenger's cell phone had pinged off a tower near Alec's workplace. This revelation jolted him, catching him off guard. The shift in his body language was palpable, reflecting the rising tension in the room. As the detectives pressed for details, they guided him through a sequence of directions, demanding specifics about the events leading up to the incident. They sought clarity on the route he took, each turn meticulously examined, as if reconstructing a crime scene in real time. Alec recounted the drive, detailing his turns and the landmarks, Taco Bell, Wendy's, until he reached the fateful destination. He spoke of the moment he hit her, a chilling recollection that marked a significant turning point in the interrogation. He described the aftermath, the chaos and blood, conveying an unsettling calmness as he recounted leaving her where the golf course met a dead end. The detectives listened intently, their resolve unwavering. They pressed him further, seeking to understand whether Gabrielle was unconscious following the incident. Alec confirmed her state, the gravity of his admission hanging heavily in the air. With a chilling detachment, he outlined his subsequent actions, admitting to dragging her into a cornfield. The detectives probed deeper, asking about her position, whether she lay on her back or stomach, each detail painting a clearer picture of the horrific scene. He recounted checking for signs of life, the frantic attempts to detect a pulse, and the struggle to help her breathe. Alec's words dripped with a haunting realization of the severity of the moment, as blood gurgled from her mouth. The detectives confronted him with stark clarity, revealing that the bullet found in his vehicle did not align with the narrative he had spun. This was not a fabricated story of a friend's injury. It was a far graver reality they were addressing. Under the weight of his confession, Alec acknowledged the truth. He had struck Gabrielle and left her for dead. The unsettling calm with which he relayed this violence sent shivers through the room, leaving the detectives wary of the inconsistencies in his account. As Alec continued, he claimed to have checked for Gabrielle's pulse, a futile gesture that hinted at his lingering humanity amidst the horror of his actions. His admission of her lack of breath only deepened the unsettling atmosphere. The detectives remained focused, questioning the credibility of his claims as he described the gurgling sounds escaping her lips. With a disconcerting calm, Alec confirmed that he had indeed checked for a pulse on her arm, a detail that would haunt the investigation that followed. Alec's confession marked a critical juncture in the interrogation. His unsettling demeanor, coupled with the blood evidence found in his car, contradicted the narrative he presented. The detectives could feel the tension mounting as they prepared to challenge every facet of his story. The detectives pressed him further, highlighting the discrepancies in his statements, as Alec, perhaps realizing the gravity of his situation, attempted to downplay the severity of what had transpired. With a chilling nonchalance, he suggested that while hitting Gabrielle was unfortunate, it was not the end of the world. The detectives exchanged glances, recognizing the depths of his disconnect from the reality of his actions. The detective's voice cut through the tension, questioning Alec's choice to remain in isolation. Just minutes from bustling Shelby and Shiloh, there were places filled with people, places where he could have sought help for Gabrielle. With a cell phone in hand, the detective pressed, urging Alec to recognize the urgency of the situation. Alec's admission was laden with regret, a haunting acknowledgement that he could have easily called for help before fleeing the scene. "Yeah, I should have done that," he confessed, the weight of his inaction settling heavily on his shoulders. The detective leaned closer, his voice low and intense. He laid out a chilling theory, that Gabrielle was already lifeless when Alec removed her from the vehicle and discarded her like refuse in the field. It was a calculated move, the detective surmised, as he noted the absence of witnesses at the house. Alec had likely believed that if he could just rid himself of her and cleanse the car, there would be no one left to connect him to the crime. The detective continued, outlining the stark reality of the situation. Alec had taken a gamble, hoping that no one would unravel the truth of that fateful afternoon. Yet the detective confronted him with a critical detail. It was around 12:30 p.m., and they were now over 12 hours into the investigation. The weather had turned cold and dreary, rain and fog cloaking the area in an eerie silence. Alec, who had shown concern for his own plight, was now faced with the grim reality of what he had done. Gabrielle lay unconscious in the freezing cold, with little hope of survival before she was discovered. But rather than express remorse, Alec's primary fear was that someone would uncover his role in the incident. "Your concern is about being found out," the detective pressed, revealing the absurdity of Alec's actions. "You knew she was alive, yet you left her in a vulnerable state, risking her life for your own selfish reasons." The detective's words hung in the air. "What you did makes no sense," he pointed out, highlighting the contradiction in Alec's thought process. It wasn't just about hitting a woman. It was about the desperate choices he had made in the wake of his violent outburst. Alec's demeanor shifted as he spoke, confessing that hitting a woman weighed heavily on his conscience. Yet he twisted the narrative, trying to ease the gravity of the situation, suggesting that he could take responsibility for domestic violence charges if they were filed. It was a chilling proposal, a calculated attempt to minimize the implications of his actions. He rationalized that accepting a first-degree misdemeanor would allow him to walk away without severe consequences. It was a chilling glimpse into his mindset, as if the reality of the situation was merely an inconvenience he could navigate. The investigator, however, was not fooled. They challenged Alec's reasoning, pointing out the absurdity of covering up a minor offense. Alec's response was devastating. He claimed, almost casually, that Gabrielle was already dead when she emerged from the car. The detectives quickly dismantled Alec's narrative, recognizing the layers of deception. He insisted the attack was impulsive, but they saw through his facade. He had a moment to help Gabrielle, yet he chose to let her suffer. It became clear to the investigators that Alec harbored a desire to inflict harm on Gabrielle. They probed further, questioning whether he had struck her once or unleashed a flurry of punches. The weight of his actions loomed over the interrogation, a haunting reminder of the violence that had unfolded. "Was it just one punch?" he pressed, wanting to understand the extent of Alec's brutality. "It was a couple of them," Alec admitted, his voice trailing off. He recounted how he had kept striking her while they were in the car, revealing the cold, calculated nature of his attack. The detective listened intently as Alec described how he used his right fist, the left hand steering the wheel. "You hit her multiple times," he stated, seeking clarity on Alec's actions. "It was your fist, right?" Alec confirmed. "Yeah." But the detective pressed further. "Did you use anything else, like a club or a bag?" Alec's response was telling. He had nothing else in the car with him. Then the detective challenged him about the moments that followed, asking if he had checked for Gabrielle's breath. Alec hesitated, revealing the darkness that lay within him as he admitted to having covered her mouth in a final act of desperation. "I did put my hand over her mouth," he confessed, "but I didn't try to cover her nose." The detective could tell that even in that moment, Alec was aware of the life ebbing away from Gabrielle. "You knew at that point she was dead," he asserted, driving home the finality of Alec's actions. In a chilling moment, Alec reflected on the brutality of his actions, noting that it felt as though Gabrielle was drawing her last breaths. He spoke of the ferocity of the assault, acknowledging that one could withstand being struck multiple times, yet the violence he inflicted might have shattered her nose, possibly obstructing her ability to breathe. When questioned about the nature of the attack, he denied choking or striking her in the throat. Instead, he insisted that all the violence had been directed towards her face, a claim that seemed to reveal his emotional turmoil as he spoke. Alec admitted to having left Gabrielle in the field, conflicted between believing she was alive and the grim reality that he knew she was dead. It was as though this marked the beginning of his final confession, a revelation of the horrors he had committed. What seemed to be a comprehensive confession was merely the tip of the iceberg. The detectives, poised to extract every detail from Alec, anticipated a breakthrough that would connect the dots in a case that cast a long shadow of suspicion. As the Shelby Police Department pressed him for the exact location where he abandoned Gabrielle, they braced themselves for a range of outcomes, hoping to find her alive, yet preparing for the worst. However, the reality they uncovered was far more harrowing than they had ever imagined. The discovery shattered any lingering hopes that Gabrielle had somehow escaped Alec's violent grasp. With no glimmers of hope left, the detectives focused solely on one objective: achieving justice. To do so, they understood they needed to confront Alec one last time, seeking clarity on the final pieces of this tragic puzzle. Under the weight of their investigation, the detectives laid out their intentions. They needed to ask Alec about a significant aspect of Gabrielle's death, probing him about his honesty in recounting the events. They pressed him, stating that it was clear he was not being forthright about the manner in which he had killed her. Alec's response revealed an unsettling admission. He acknowledged his dishonesty, a crack in his facade that hinted at deeper truths. He recounted how he had picked Gabrielle up and brought her to his house, where he intended to grab lunch. In a moment of reflection, he noted that he had retrieved a pocket knife, an object that would soon be stained with unimaginable violence. Alec expressed a sense of disbelief over his own actions, claiming he never intended to harm her. Yet, as their conversation ensued, he confessed to blacking out, contemplating the act of inflicting pain upon her. When asked about the pocket knife, he confirmed the horrifying truth. He had indeed stabbed her. The number of times he had done so remained unclear, a haunting admission as he recalled the moment he lost control. Ultimately, the detectives found the answer to all their lingering questions when Gabrielle's body was discovered. A tragic casualty in a tale of marital violence that spoke volumes about the dangers of domestic abuse. The tragedy deepened when it was revealed that Gabrielle had fought to protect herself. She had recognized the warning signs and had taken steps to safeguard her life. Investigators learned that Gabrielle had filed for a protection order against Alec just days prior, on January 26, 2020. In a cruel twist of fate, her plea for safety was denied by the Richland County Domestic Relations Court, mere days before her untimely death. In the end, the system failed to protect her from the very danger it was designed to combat. By October 2020, Alec had pleaded guilty to all charges, admitting to aggravated murder, 3 counts of murder, and 4 counts of kidnapping, sealing the tragic fate of Gabrielle Clevenger. On January 22, 2021, the weight of justice fell heavily upon Alec Blair. He was handed 2 counts each of felonious assault and abduction, alongside charges of tampering with evidence and gross abuse of a corpse. Judge Phil Namoff, with a voice that echoed authority, sentenced him to 45 years in prison. In a thorough evaluation, forensic psychologist Dr. Robert Stinson delved into Alec's psyche, revealing deep-rooted anger issues exacerbated by Gabrielle Clevenger's departure. It became evident that her leaving him had unearthed a well of childhood trauma. Yet no psychological insight could ever excuse the brutal act of stabbing someone 14 times. Ultimately, Alec's inner demons crumbled under the cold, hard truth of his actions. As the heartbreaking case of Gabrielle's tragic end draws to a close, we are left to grapple with the chilling reality of Alec Blair, a man transformed into a monster by his unchecked rage and unresolved issues. Despite all of Gabrielle's efforts to safeguard herself, the system failed her, just as it has failed countless others before her. In a world where women continually face the looming threat of violence, we must ask ourselves, how many more lives must be sacrificed before we begin to recognize the signs? Alec Blair stands not alone as a monster. He embodies the consequence of a society that too often waits until it is far too late to intervene. The critical question lingers in the air. How do we prevent the next Alec Blair from slipping through the cracks? How do we ensure that women like Gabrielle Clevenger do not become just another statistic in a broken system? We invite you to share your thoughts on this case in the comment section below and let us know if there are any other cases you would like us to cover. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insights into the darker corners of humanity.